I was watching SportsCenter after, and Mahomes did a stand-up interview with Chris Berman and Steve Young and Booger and was just standing on the set for 5 minutes, casually talking about the game. And I'm like, I thought his ankle was bent 5 different ways. What's going on? What's the real story here?
Sprinted to go to Berman, right? He was like, oh, he's over there. All right, I can get there in under 3.5 seconds. Well, he could get to me all the way.
Well, maybe this will lead to a new football philosophy where teams will pretend their guys hurt more than it is or whatever, because it worked. I mean, it was one of the reasons people were picking the Eagles this week was, Mahomes, he can't really move. Hit the key play of this game. What did he scramble for 30 yards? How long was that?
And like at some point when you're running that fast and that far, whenever you come down, that's it, man. It's going to hurt. It's going to sting like unless they carry you into the end zone, you're in trouble. But that was when I thought, oh, come on. He got right up. He shook it off. It is a weird thing, but I mean, he won MVP. He's plus 130. You were going to give it to him anyway. He had under 200 yards passing, right? But the 3 touchdowns and just, I guess, by the fact just being in there and everything else, he deserves it.
He was awesome. After he hurt his ankle, he went 13 for 14 for 92 yards and 2 TDs.
Jesus.
And we could talk about the bad ref stuff, but I think we should talk about Mahomes, and I think we should talk about how bad the Eagles defense was for what we were expecting. They sucked. I can't remember. Can you remember 3 plays they made? Like somebody tagged Pacheco in the fourth quarter, really good hit. That was a good play. Yep. They didn't tip a pass. They didn't create a turnover. I don't think did they have a sack, or they had a sack where Mahomes ran out of bounds, but it turned out
the Chiefs had a sack when Hurts ran out of bounds. The Eagles, I don't think, had a sack. Yeah. And, how many games do we see where, but a quarterback, he should have had 3 interceptions. Nothing close at all with that for Mahomes, right? That wasn't really one play. But it's like, wow, and I needed Mahomes to throw an interception to cash like a pretty substantial parlay. On the other side too, like I think Hurts only threw 1 ball up for grabs. Otherwise it was very clean, no sacks, no nothing, no holds really called until that last one, which made it even worse.
The Mahomes resume: 2-time Super Bowl champ, 2-time Super Bowl MVP. That's a pretty small list. Twice an MVP. He has been twice the passing touchdowns leader, once the passing leader, has made the Pro Bowl 5 years in a row. And this feels like the start of something like that. There's some GOAT potential now, because you need to get those 2 early. Brady got the 3 early, and then
he needed to win this one for sure. Yep.
Yeah. Then it's a little bit different, and they caught lightning in a bottle in some ways with how well they did with the draft, which was, you give them credit for that. But at the same time, when you have this many rookies, they make that big gamble with the Tyreek Hill trade. You really have to hit your draft, and they did. They took a bunch of like gambles on the Schuster, Kadarius Toney, those type of guys, and all of them made plays in this game. Schuster was the one that got interfered with at the end. Toney made a big punt return off one of the worst punts in the history of the Super Bowl. A line drive that was directed in a way that Toney could just get the running head start. That was big. But they patched this together, and it was really impressive team building. And at the same time, I felt like they could have lost every one of the playoff games.
When do Yeah, it's true. When do you start putting him in the conversation with Montana and Brady? 4 out of 5? He has to win 4 out of 5 Super Bowls, or 3 out of 4?
Yeah, it's so early. It's such a race now, especially like in the podcast era where every podcast has to have some sort of big sweeping narrative, whatever. But,
I heard Mark Maron talking about it. I was like, whoa, calm down, dude. You don't even...
He's talking about it as HBO show. Yeah. He's certainly hitting all the checkpoints, which is the big thing. And I think the thing for me is all the stuff adds up together. Like Kellerman had a tweet that I liked today that I randomly saw where he said the eyeball test says they're the best. The stats corroborate that impression. And their team wins the most. And that's what Michael Jordan had. And that's why we ended up settling him as the GOAT. And Mahomes is hitting those checkpoints. So I agree with Max. I thought that was a smart point. Yeah. But there's so much work left. And there's so much luck that goes into this. And, I think like Brady ended up, he got the 7, he got the 6 with the Pats. And that 7 easily could have been 10. It also could have been 3, So you got to win. Good.
You're very mature. Games. You're very mature the way you're analyzing this, I have to say.
Well,
I think most Patriots fans say that 7 should have been 10.
Right. I lost money on Philly, but I never I never felt awesome either way. I mean, there's a reason the line was 1.5. And, you're thinking like, if you're taking KC, your theories were don't bet against Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
Don't bet against Vegas, which we should talk about in a second. Don't overreact to the dominant team that had the bad schedule, which is basically Philly, all the quarterbacks. That was a big talking point last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then something I didn't realize, there was a little nobody believes in us with the Chiefs offensive line, which a couple people mentioned. Like, we're taping this podcast. It was actually probably about an hour plus after the game. And that was the theme in the post game where they were like, oh, yeah, we saw all the stuff about Hassan Reddick as the MVP fit. Like, they saw all that stuff.
Right.
And the offensive line was awesome today. Certainly better than I thought they were going to be. Did you think that was going to be a problem for them today? Because I did.
I didn't think it would be as big a problem as it was against Tampa when they couldn't get anything off, right? Mahomes is running for his life, but I don't know if he's smarter or the offensive line is better. I guess it was just better. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I bet a bunch of Eagles to get a sack and they didn't.
Well, one of the things with Mahomes, he's assumed the imaginary. It's not even imaginary. I don't know what the right word is, but Brady used to have it where you're just thinking like, that's too much time, or they should be up more. You left them too big of a window. He's going to come back and get this. Like, even when the Eagles score, they're down 8. They go down, they get a touchdown, they get the 2-point, they make it 35-35. And in normal football situations, you're thinking, that team has all the momentum. Oh my God, the Chiefs have to be reeling. And with KC, you're just looking at it going, oof, 5 minutes for Mahomes. They might not get the ball back. Chiefs are going to get out or at least get a field goal. Yeah. There's no other quarterback like that. And I don't know who else for you has kind of been in that territory, right? Brady definitely. I think Manning was there for a little while. Pretty long.
For me, as a Cowboys fan, just
in general, like betting against them or watching them, whatever, in our lifetime, that list is like less than 9 guys.
Yeah.
Where you're like,
less than 5, I think. I don't think it's, well, who is it? You wouldn't put like Lamar Jackson. I'm trying to think of like the best quarterback.
No, like,
Josh Allen, I would put in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Elway for me is in there because I was always just completely terrified of Elway. And we just saw him do it so many times at the end.
Montana, Marino, Fouts. Yeah. A couple of those.
You put Fouts in there? I never got to see Fouts enough.
I just feel like they move the ball a lot. I don't know. I guess I have to look at like fourth quarter comebacks and stuff like that. But
Favre was one of those where if you bet on him, you were worried he was going to go throw a pick, and if you bet against him, you were worried that he was going to come down and beat you. Like, both sides were worried with Favre.
Right.
Everything was in play. TD, interception, whatever. And there's been guys that had like little runs. I think, Burrow was basically in the same situation 2 weeks ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's in that Mahomes situation. He goes down and gets some points. You go to the Super Bowl, and he couldn't get it done. So we were talking Mahomes and Burrow 2 weeks ago, and Mahomes grabbed it.